and welcome to another vloggy vlog from us, which means you don't have any titles to fast forward through this time, you lucky things.
Yep, it's a bit of a different one for us today. It's time we got to know each other a little bit better.
Yeah, we spend too much time cramming in all the tips into our videos, you never actually get to know us at all.
Like, you don't even know how a California girl ended up in England.
Or why an Englishman is now giving tips to Americans about the USA.
Or why we started this vlog in the first place and why we want to help you guys.
So we're going to change all of that today through the medium of dodgy photos. Should we do a Wayne's World dissolve?
Yeah.
I'm one of 6 kids and grew up in the south of England, just outside of London. As you can imagine, we didn't get to do any glamorous holidays abroad. Our first family overseas trip was to Ireland in 1992, and I don't really think that counts as a trip abroad. But we did get on a boat. As friends went off to Florida, Europe and Australia, I remember as a kid realising that I was never going to get to travel the world. As my older sisters got married, we got to do some trips to Spain and Italy during my teenage years. I loved experiencing and seeing new places.
I grew up in Berkeley, California with my mom and sister. We didn't have a lot of money, so most of my vacations were spent camping and going to a lake in Yosemite. Once, my grandparents, who lived in Florida, treated us to Disney World. I didn't leave the States until I was 18, but it was always my dream to. In 2001, me and my best friend Drea backpacked around Europe. London, Italy, Switzerland, Germany, you name it, we went there, seeing what life was like outside of the USA. I went to university in San Diego and studied child and family development. In my second year, I was inspired by my cousin Kenny, who did a semester at sea. I did the same too. I spent 3 months on a cruise ship where I sailed around the world on a boat full of students and professors. I went to Cuba, Japan, South Africa, and finished in Seattle, all while learning and taking classes while at sea.
In 2002, I graduated from a journalism degree and went straight into a job at my local TV station. Before long, I was reading the news and making my own reports. Now I had some money, I spent the next couple of years making the most of the cheap airfares around Europe by going on city breaks with my mates, where we would mainly just go clubbing. In 2004, we were planning a big trip to Miami together, but then my mate's dad found a timeshare in Cancun that we could all go to. I hadn't even heard of Cancun before and spent many weeks trying to find out more about it. There weren't many websites back then, remember? And not many Brits went there.
Back in California, me and my friends were planning a trip to Mexico at the same time, but on the East Coast, to Cabo instead. Our plans changed randomly as well. We were suddenly headed to Cancun too.
A few days into our lad's holiday of a lifetime, I saw a girl in the club that looked like Cameron Diaz, my dream woman back then. What's the worst that could happen, I thought? She could ignore me and I'd never see her again. Her group of girls finally came over to the revolving dance floor inside of Daddy-O's. We danced, we talked, we hit it off and planned to meet each other a few days later. I needed to fax her to get a second date. We'll save that story for another video though.
Oh, so imagine this. I'm in the queue and my best friend Drea says, "What kind of guys do you like? What kind of guy are we looking for you?" And I tried to explain what I like, you know, a baby-faced, cute guy, you know, tan and blonde hair and, you know, muscular, but not too muscular, just right. And she goes, "I don't understand what you mean. Point to someone in the queue that is who you're talking about." So I'm looking down the queue at all the guys, being quite particular, and I see this guy over here, and I go, that guy, him, right there, he's totally my type, 100%. And then I heard he had an English accent, and I was done. We had a few dates in Mexico and spent the rest of my trip with David falling in love. Going to the beach, having dinner. We both ditched our friends completely and agreed to meet up again.
When I got home, I thought we'd meet up again, but I didn't think it would happen so soon. We emailed while I was still out in Mexico, and when I got home, an American voice was asking for me.
I obviously invited the cute British guy to come visit me at home as soon as he possibly could. I didn't actually realize he would book a ticket and come visit me as soon as he possibly could.
I didn't think that was weird. I thought it was a chance to go to California and get a tour around with an American, and I thought if it doesn't work out, at least I've had the experience. I thought it was a good plan.
But I was just a ticket to America and a place to stay, huh?
Basically, no, more than that. More than that. But you know what I mean. It's, I couldn't lose.
It worked out anyways.
It did work, and I had a trip of a lifetime, going to LA, Universal Studios, and hanging out in San Diego. All the things I thought I'd never get to do.
We'd both save every penny we got to try and see each other about every 6 weeks.
Nothing can keep me from you.
We'd take it in turns to fly out to see each other. Trips to California included meeting family in San Francisco and the Bay Area, while we also went on adventures to the mountains with my Southern California college friends. In England, we do day trips most weekends and meet up with friends and family.
Days waking up too late.
In 2005, I was now one of the faces on the regional ITV news programme, and Ali had just graduated from university. So it made sense for her to move to the UK.
Nothing can keep me from you.
In 2007, David gave me a plane ticket to New York for Valentine's Day when we promised we wouldn't do any gifts that year. A very exciting gift, so I had one idea what that might mean.
I planned this trip for weeks, and even had Tiffany send the engagement ring to my hotel, ready for the big night. We went out for dinner in Central Park, and on one of the carriages, I asked Ali to marry me.
Ass? You basically talked a bunch of nonsense for half an hour and then you blurted out, "No, you're gonna marry me," at the very end of the ride.
You were like answering questions with really long answers, and then I could just see the restaurant in the distance at the finishing point. I was like, I've got 30 seconds left to actually ask this question. So I just jumped down on my knee in the carriage. You didn't even say yes, actually.
I nodded. I couldn't get the words out. I was lost for words for the first time in my life.
How do you know that tears are yes?
It was dark. I was nodding. I was.
Oh, you catch me like a leaf falling from a tree.
In 2009, we got married and had the picture-perfect wedding in the English countryside. All of the Americans flew over and had a day to remember.
Everything I do, I wanna marry you. 'Cause when you're around, I know it's true. The way you make me feel is so good, baby.
We then went back to the city where we met for our honeymoon. That also meant a trip back to the revolving dance floor where it all began.
We put all of our time and money into traveling. We went temple running and exploring ancient history in Egypt. We holidayed around Europe as much as we could.
One of the most memorable trips was to India for a friend's wedding. We even got to go to the Taj Mahal, the kind of trip I never thought I'd get to do when I was a kid.
I was 25 and David was 27. We felt we were too young to have kids, but we were both always dying to have that family we always wanted. So why wait? Let's start now.
9 months later, in 2011, Dylan was born. It was life-changing and amazing. But now we had to do one of the scariest things of my life. Travel for 12 hours on a long-haul flight with a baby.
Actually, Dylan was amazing. He didn't care about the time difference, and we had a great time showing him off to the family. He really didn't have an impact on our trip. We still traveled around, ate out, and met up with family and friends. We went back out there for Christmas about a year later, and he was still just as awesome.
This was a big realization for us. We'll come back to it in a bit. 2 years later, Samantha joined our family. Ali went back to show her off when she was just 3 months old.
It was always a dream of mine to travel the Pacific Coast Highway in a red convertible. And David felt for my 30th birthday, kids or no kids, he was gonna make that dream come true. Dylan was 4 and Sam was 2. We weren't afraid of the flights anymore, and we had such an amazing trip. We took them to Disneyland and we saw family in Northern and Southern California. It was amazing.
This was when we realised that other people would love experiences like this. I would never have taken my kids to California if we didn't have family there. But if we didn't, we'd have missed out on one of the best trips of our lives. We wanted to show people that just because you've got kids, it doesn't mean you can't do bucket list trips until they're teenagers. There are so many places to see and memories to be made now.
David had a fun idea of making a video of our Highway 1 trip. We weren't planning on being YouTubers, we were just having some fun.
The other thing that happened then was that in about 2013 I started to teach journalism at university, and I really wanted to bring content creation and YouTube channels into it, so I thought this would be a great chance to kind of show what you can do and how the algorithm works and how the students could actually end up being YouTubers themselves. I never once expected for our first proper video to get over 1 million views. We've since won 2 national travel awards for our vlog.
Just as things were starting to get really busy around here, Jude decided he wanted to join our family. I say he decided because we'd been trying for a whole year. We found out while we were in Lake Tahoe, funnily enough. Mommy has a baby in her tummy right now.
It is.
Yes.
Actually,
Yes.
what is it?
Jude was born in 2018, and that basically brings us up to date.
We've been making videos whenever we have time. We test out memorable trips that you might not think you can do with kids, to see if you would like to do it with your family.
We look for ways to save money as we both came from backgrounds that didn't have much. And with David's experience as a journalist, we like to think that people who don't have young kids can still learn lots from our travel guides.
Now we've got to know each other a little bit better, I think it's time for you to dive into some of our content so you can live the life of Reilly.
Where are you gonna go first?
You put the subscribe button over my face, didn't you?
Yeah.